Hello, this is Philip Ko from selfhelpaudiobook.review.com. Wanted to give a review on an audiobook on Audible called "If You Can Wholesale This, I've Got Nothing for You." Who is it by? It is by Todd M. Fleming, narrated by Timothy Pell. What is this audiobook about? It's a guidebook for those who are interested in wholesale business and real estate. All right, what is wholesale? It's basically being a middleman deal maker between the seller of the house or property or land and the buyer, who is basically the pocket, either the end purchaser, the user, or an investor who buys it and then flips it or keeps it for himself or whatever, right? And you're getting a cut out of it, the transaction. Normally, if you do there's two transaction type of transaction, but if you do a signable contract instead of ABC closing or double closing, then you don't end up owning the real estate in an assignable contract, but you're basically getting a deal on the seller's end, and then kind of in the same legal document, or that's done in the purchase agreement, you and the seller, and then you get an assignable contract between you and the buyer. So it is being a middleman. It doesn't sound that impressive, but I think it is actually, because it's actually one of those things that create real value, because it's a game of limited information and sort of finite timing. There's deals like that are available only here or through the word of mouth or before MLS or whatever. Anyway, so it's a pretty ingenious idea, and I kind of downplayed it, right? It just sounds really kind of schemy, like it doesn't sound really good. Wholesaling just sounds kind of gimmicky. I've kind of had that idea before, or that sort of image, and I'm sure I'm not the only person, right? Just it's kind of hard to respect the idea of wholesaling if you even know what it is, but in the real estate game, because you're like the middleman, so it just doesn't sound good, or it just doesn't sound like it's something very important. And yeah, the profit margin is not really that great, as like if you actually if you're the buyer, for example, right? Those are the big guys, or the people with the cash, etc. But I think it's still a good idea. I mean, it's a good idea, and now I realize that it could be a good idea. um you're just not gonna make like tons and tons and tons of money, but you could still make pretty, like, few tens of thousands, with the right deals, and potentially less than 10,000. But I mean, if you didn't have to do much, and if you sort of got the deal making down, and you just get a couple of signatures, and then some little work over the phone, and then in person, just like 3-4 meetings or whatever, and you make $7,000 or 12,000 or 20,000 or 30,000. I mean, that's pretty good, and then it's also like it's good because it doesn't really you're not really liable too much, because the person with either the big loan, or with the property, or the property with the tenants, those are the people that own the liabilities. But if you're a middleman, as long as the deal is pretty legit, like, once you're done, they just the title company cuts you a check, and that's it, and you're done, and then, like, on to the next one. But I mean, that's like kind of the good and the bad part, But you can technically, like, you can start to process it instead of selling it. You can keep it for yourself too. If you have the means to keep it, right. So you can become an investor as well. So it's pretty flexible, but I really like that. Anyway, so that's what it's really about. That's what wholesale is about. And the some of the topics that he goes into is like also ABC double closing. I mentioned that earlier. So that's like not an assignable contract where no owning is involved. ABC double closing, or double closing, is like where technically you're doing two contracts, where the seller sells to you and then you own it, and then split second later, or simultaneously, you're doing another contract, selling contract to the ultimate buyer, the end buyer, right? Either an investor or a third party, or just another owner, which is less common, but still, like, he does talk about that. He starts the book with, like, stuff like law of attraction. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of these self-help books, and they're not always really related, directly, but these are all, like, super successful people. They talk about law of attraction. That's like the secret. That's literally from the movie Secret. It's like it's in there, okay? So whatever you want to think about law of attraction, you go ahead. I mean, it's not the time or place for me to talk about law of attraction, because I know a lot about it, but anyway, so he talks about that, okay, and went from broke to rich. I mean, like, that's the pattern of the people that I listen to. Is almost everybody that I listen to super successful, and they went from broke to rich, and he's no exception. They don't always have to be start really broken, but like that gives it even more credibility. And that's the case with him. He had, he talks about how he had like $11 in the bank when he closed his first deal, and now it's like he's way, way, way past that, where he's quite successful. You can just tell, like, by the things they talk about. You can tell where he's at now. But he went from nothing. He didn't have a job. I mean, he took a really big risk. I mean, so he was very different, right? People just doesn't think about doing this type of stuff when they don't have a job and things like that. But he obviously thought differently. But rich people think differently. People, that know self development, they think differently. That's why they succeed. It's not like some luck, and it's not, they think differently, therefore they act differently, or they do things differently, and therefore it translates to accomplishment, and financial gain, job, his title, whatever it is, right? Or financial freedom. I'm not there yet, but obviously to me that's really the goal, of anybody that's financially ambitious, and then like beyond that point. Anyway, so he talks about these type of philosophies, like law of attraction, and how that applies to this whole thing. And but trust me, he does. It's not. This is not about like kumbaya, like meditation session here at all. But he does. I really like the fact that he goes into that type of things, because it all matters. But it matters every time. But not everybody is aware of it or talks about it. So he talks about not only that, but general philosophy, real estate, like his experience. When he's talking from the experiential point of view, and also conceptual point of view. So you can tell this guy has read a lot since he came long way since broke, right? So and he does like the whole motivational speech things. They're very consistent with all the other people. All the self-help authors that I'm familiar with. A lot of them, it's pretty consistent with majority of them. And like that personal story of closing first deal with $11 in his bank with no job. um, you know that story is very powerful. Okay, like, I mean, this is not a super famous movie or any kind of media, but I mean, I'm the only one that probably talks about it that right, for so far. But it just one person that's doing like an amazing thing out of the people that do the amazing things, and you can tell it's something very special. So I really like that kind of like underdog story. Obviously, like, they're not underdogs anymore. I'm the underdog listening to it, right? The listeners are usually the underdog, or the people that are just not as successful to crack into it, or at least in that arena. Anyway, so he's in that position to say, I'm successful, and these are what I've done, and you can do it too, and this is how you can do it. And he does get into that specific steps, like the 9 steps to deal making. He does that, and he also talks about the assignment sheet versus the contract. Those are the two big documents that he talks about, which is the two documents that matter in wholesaling, the deal making. And I'll just throw in his website. I think kingdomrealestate.com, because there should be some free resources there. So I'm mentioning that for that reason, and also to give him props for that. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to SEO this and try to link it probably. So if on the YouTube video, if you're watching that, or on my blog, there should be ways to go to go to products, or my review or stuff like that. So go ahead and link, and also please subscribe to my channel if you're visiting my YouTube channel. I mean, barely started, so there's not a lot of love there yet, and it's fine. But if you can subscribe, that'll be great. All right, and then so kind of wrap it up. Uniqueness, very unique, because the subject matter is really unique. And also, not only that subject matter is unique, he goes really deeply into it, or just like very concisely, steps. This is what you do. Blah blah blah. Bam bam bam. Here's a package, right? So, like, I don't know if it's complete, but it's pretty close. All right. So this is pretty much the only thing that you need. Mainly, okay, less like maybe a few papers or whatever, right? Documents and things like that. But he'll cover that loosely as well. So it's really unique because of that. Good things, to the point, very useful, informative, motivational speech bonus. It doesn't really obstruct too much to the content. It flows nicely. Also gives him credibility, and you can see the personal side of it, how he became the man he did. It's amazing. Bad things, it can be longer and more detailed. It's not like a massive, like, it's very useful, but and it's there, enough is there, but it's not like a long, very 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 detailed one. So, but it's okay. It's not like, so I'm just saying, pointing out that it could be more longer if it needed to, or it would be even more valuable if it was a little longer, but it was probably not needed. A little bit more emphasis or clear explanation on resources and how they're helpful. He does give resources, but it's like, here's my website, and then there's a couple things he talks about, but he wasn't. I want to see like more like definite resources, but it's also understandable because some people and the websites and these they change, and he has a website too that's all about this and related topics. So it's like, here's my website, right? So that's kind of the price you pay for going. I mean, it's not even a price to pay, but like in terms of like having to do stuff, go to his website to find out more information. But it's ultimately designed to help you. So, so who's it for? Who's someone who's serious about wholesaling and real estate investing? Someone who's interested in making more money with no money of their own. Someone who's willing to do the work, especially the relationship part. The building relationship part is really fundamental, and also somebody who's willing to learn the contract, right? The contract, actual deal maker, and the legal side of it. But that's why this audiobook, and also they have a book version, so helpful. Is because they'll give you like that type of real important information. They'll just tell you what it is, you know what I mean? So you get like 90% of what you need, from this audiobook, from your success or your first deal. It's amazing. Not for no person that prides in like being alone or something, like no relationship type of person, or who's not really terrible at it, who like is very abrasive and not willing to change that. This is how I am and that's it, and I'm a loner and I'm okay. I mean, yeah, philosophically he's okay, all right, but not, he doesn't really mix with certain things, right? And this is probably one of them, because deal making is all about people. And I'm telling you, trust me, I'm an introvert, okay? I'm kind of all over the social media sometimes, but like, I'm an introvert. But I know that I need to be more out there, or talk to more people, for this reason. But it just comes with the territory. But I don't mind it, like, obviously that's why I'm a social media guy, because I don't mind like interacting with people, not necessarily in person, but anyway. So final thoughts. Awesome audiobook, no BS, straight to point, all valuable information from a pro, a real pro. You need some paperwork and stuff, but he'll guide you through it and sort of like give you a rundown and an overview of it. Very, very important nuggets of information. Also check out his website that I mentioned earlier, kingdomrealestate.com, and just check the link and subscribe, whatever. And then whether it's in blog or YouTube video, I should have more resources laid out there, so please check them out, right? And then if there's any kind of product that I'm selling in relation to this, please go there, click on it if you're gonna check it out. I'm sure it's not gonna cost you more, but I'll probably get a commission off it. So it's like the whole thing. Actually, go buy the audiobook through my link. It's not going to cost you anything. It's just going to be one credit, still exactly the same, but I'll get credit, and then you get some good information. I make a little, like, a couple bucks or whatever it is that I'm getting. It's win-win, right? So I can, keep producing even better and better content, if I start getting paid too. So here you go. So that's the rundown of that. I highly recommend it if you're interested in how to learn how to wholesale. Like, really amazing. So get it.